Joyce, the co-founder and economics teacher at the CANA Elite Education Center. Most students find it challenging to write good economics essay. In this video, I'd like to share with you the essay writing technique of this following topic. The question that I'd like to go through with you today is on the topic of externality. So let's say we have got an essay question explaining why pollution by a chemical factory is a type of market failure. Now, to do well in an economics essay, there are several components that we need to bear in mind. So first of all, definition. Second, we got to have diagrams. Thirdly, sound explanation and analysis, which means that when we put down a diagram, for example, we got to explain what that diagram means and how we actually could use the diagram to answer the question. And number 4, real-life example. This is the component that most students might have missed out. Just remember that if you could include some real-life examples, that will help to enrich your essay. Number 5 is to avoid any major error. For example, in this contest, we are talking about market failure with negative externality. So make sure that you don't mix up the MSC and the MSB curve. Last but not least is to show clear understanding of the demands of the question. Now, if you are able to do the above 5 points, plus not including things that is out of the context of the question, then you should have demonstrated clear understanding of the demands of the question. Okay, now let's come back to this question. Explain why pollution by a chemical factory is a type of market failure. Now, usually when I see a question like that, I will immediately think, how can I answer the question in one sentence? Because being able to answer the question in 1 or 2 sentences helps you to crystallize your thoughts. So I would think that pollution by chemical factory is a type of market failure because it generates negative externality of production. And negative externality of production is a type of market failure. So therefore, we can clearly answer the question in 1 to 2 sentences. And that leads us to the introduction. So in the IB economics essay, usually we would define the key terms in the introduction. For example, in here, I know that I have to define the key term market failure. And because pollution by chemical factory is a negative externality, therefore I would define both the market failure and negative externality. So market failure is defined as the price mechanism fails to allocate resources efficiently. The key word here is the efficiency. And that's why, because there is inefficiency in the market, that's why the market fails. Now, the definition of negative externality, it shows the adverse spillover effects. That's the key word. The adverse spillover effects that impact the third party not involved in the production or the consumption process. So we have defined all the key terms. And eventually, you can try to answer the question by saying that the pollution by a chemical factory generates negative externality of production, and therefore is a type of market failure. Then you can answer the question in 1 sentence. And that would be the introduction. Now, how about the main body of the essay? Before I would go with the analysis, I would think about what sorts of diagram to be put. And obviously here we'll put the negative externality of production diagram. So a lot of students, as they draw the externality diagrams, they try to memorize and struggle which curve is which. The good news is actually you don't really have to memorize. Now, let me tell you the tricks here. Every time I do the externality diagrams, I would always put first the MSB and the MSC curve. The reason why I put this is because that this actually indicates the social optimal point and the social optimal level of output. Now, this is the output level that is most desired by society. Then, knowing that there is negative externality of production, right? So we can deduce where do we put the profit cost curve. First of all, knowing that there is negative externality of production. Production is a supply side problem. Therefore, the MPC, the supply side, the MPC and the MSC is not equivalent. And we can assume that the MSB and MPB equals to each other. So that's the production side. However, if this is a consumption externality, then the MPB will be different from the MSB. So that's how I would deduce it. Secondly, it's negative externality. Negative means that society thinks that the market is overproducing, which means that the output level in the market currently should be more than the output level that is desired by society. That's why the output level of the market should be on the right of the social optimal level of output. Hence, we should then put the MPC on the right of MSC instead of on the left. So this is how we can deduce the diagram based on 1, analyzing whether it's a production or consumption externality, and number 2, whether it's positive or negative externality. So therefore, never try to memorize the diagram, because even if you can memorize the right diagram, it's very easy that you find it's very hard for you to explain the essay in words. Now, this is the right diagram. Then the distance here is indeed the MEC, the marginal external cost. Last but not least, I will show you the area of dead weight loss. Now, a lot of students remember the dead weight loss as the triangle. However, don't just think that it's a triangle. It has a meaning towards it. Dead weight loss is actually the welfare loss from the society's perspective. Therefore, the right way to think about it is knowing that this is the social cost curve and that's the social benefit curve. When there is externality, we are saying that society is either overproducing or underproducing. In this case, it's overproducing. Therefore, the triangle is not this one, but it's actually this one. The reason being, we want to say that there is dead weight loss because in this case, the marginal social cost is higher than the marginal social benefit. So that explains why this triangle shows the externality. Alright, we've got the right diagram. So how do we actually go around to do the analysis then? With the externality diagram, the analysis can go step by step. Step 1, I would always explain that the social optimal point, for example in this case, is the production by chemical factory. So the social optimal point is where MSC equals MSB. And the ideal social output level is at Q opt. After identifying the desirable level of output by society, then we would go into the explanation of the market equilibrium. So the market equilibrium point is actually where MPC equals MPB, where private firms is maximizing their welfare. Now, so the market output level is demonstrated by Q1. So by saying these 2 points, then we have already identified the current situation in the market. And number 3, try to include the real-life example in your answer. I would go by saying that the private cost is actually the cost bears by the producer. Cost bear by producer. And it's always great to give examples. For example, could be the wage in this case, could be the rent in this case, right? Could be the raw materials in this case. And of course, I would also say the external cost is the cost to the third party. And the external cost here, which is stated in the question, is pollution. Or some can add a little bit more to it, can be health care cost. Okay? Great. So we have laid out the ideal situation, the current market situation, and put things into context. The next thing we need to go around is to say that indeed there is externality because MSC is greater than MPC and the MEC is hence greater than 0. So to indicate that there's negative externality in the market. Now, knowing that there is negative externality, we therefore say that the market is overproducing. There is overproduction at Q1 minus Q opt. Now, some students, they stop here, but indeed the question is on why is there market failure in the market? So last but not least, we got to talk about the inefficiency in the market. And the inefficiency is actually demonstrated by the deadweight loss. So I would say that the deadweight loss or the social welfare loss, they meant the same thing. The social welfare loss is a triangle. Let's put A, B, and C on the diagram. A, B, C. And let's say that the MSC is greater than the MSB to show that you fully understand the context of social welfare loss. And that leads to inefficiency in the market. And that's why it's a type of market failure. Alright, then that's a very comprehensive essay plan. Now for 10 marks essay, you don't necessarily have to put a conclusion. I mean, like if you have answered most of the contents in there, a conclusion might not be necessary. Well, that's not the case for 50 marks though. So this is a great plan for a level 7 essay. See, writing essay can be as easy as that. So if you would like to get a free sample essay on this question, please go to www.canaelite.com to get a free sample copy. And if you find this video helpful, please do like our video to show your support. And feel free to subscribe to our channel as well, because we will make more IB economics as well as videos of IB in other subjects.